In 1979, a legend fell silent. At just 31 years old, weighing 320 pounds, one of the most notorious Hells Angels met his end. Not in a blaze of glory, but in a hospital bed.
Hells Angels in the 70s, man, it was a fast lifestyle, and everybody knew what they were getting themselves into.
But why? The story you're about to hear isn't just another biker tale. It's about a man who took a bullet for his president, fought battles that shook the streets of New York, and left a legacy that still echoes through clubhouses across America today. They called him the Beast from the East.
Vinny was known as the Beast from the East. His motto, when in doubt, knock 'em out.
His reputation grew larger than his massive frame. And in the outlaw biker world of the 60s and 70s, that was saying something. From the mysterious Polish Women's Hall incident to the legendary showdown with Irish O'Farrell, Vinny's story became the stuff of legend.
Was it a fair fight? There was no bats used, there was no weapons used, it wasn't a rat pack. I think Irish just got the best of him, and that happens sometimes. You get in a fight with somebody one time, you win, you fight him again, and perhaps you lose.
Most outlaws from his era lived fast, died young, and left whispered tales in smoky bars. Vinny's story was different. His death raised more questions than answers. Was it really the diabetes that killed him, or was there more to the story? Fire up those engines. You're about to meet Big Vinny Girolamo, a man whose motto, when in doubt, knock 'em out, became legend, and whose death still raises questions decades later. Big Vinny emerged from the streets. He was born in 1947, right in the heart of New York City, where the post-war chaos shaped his earliest years. Young Vincent Girolamo grew up surrounded by the symphony of rumbling engines and the promise of freedom that only two wheels could deliver. Fun fact, when Vinny walked into a buffet, owners would start sweating bullets. At 320 pounds, the man wasn't just big, he was economy-crushing big. But hey, at least he helped keep local restaurants in business. Growing up in the concrete jungle of New York, Vinny towered over most, earning quick respect from anyone who crossed his path. His presence commanded attention in every room he entered, with a personality as massive as his frame and a laugh that could shake windows. Motorcycles became his destiny.
Here, right, where all the countries are totally against the United States, but here are all the little people, not statuses like the presidents and the legislature and all that, which hate us, but the little people, right, all want to be Hells Angels, and Hells Angels are American, and Hells Angels are our way of life.
The late 1960s marked his patch in with the Hells Angels, a decision that would define not just his life, but an entire era of motorcycle club culture in America.
After I got out of Marines in '66, I started hanging out with guys in the Bronx that rode. And I guess right out of Marines, I guess I was just ready for a Brotherhood trip, you know what I'm saying? Because Marine Corps, teaches about Brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? They brought me down there, they introduced me to Santa, I became his prospect.
By 2023, there would be 8.8 million registered motorcycles across America. But back then, every bike on the road told a story. Vinny's Harley spoke volumes. The Beast from the East earned his name through actions, not words. Racing through New York City streets in his beat-up luxury car, Vinny created chaos wherever he went. He'd drive on sidewalks, scatter trash cans like bowling pins, and exchange colorful banter with everyone from street vendors to suited businessmen.
Aside from being unbelievable, it seemed like everybody in the damn city knew who Vinny was. He's driving this old beat-up car. I don't even remember what it was. It was just a huge, big luxury car, but it wasn't too luxurious anymore. He just beat the hell out of it. And he was driving up on the sidewalk, knocking over trash cans, yelling at people. He was going to get back to him, and hey, I need to talk to you, and people were screaming at him, and these were people from all races and walks of life. It was just a real interesting experience.
His reputation grew faster than his shadow, especially after taking a bullet for Sandy Alexander, the club president, during a bar fight.
I prospected it for him, Alien Nomads. Then the night he got shot, I was prospecting, and I went for the guy who had the gun. and I got voted the next day, you know.
Sandy Alexander, he was the president of that 3rd Street crew, and Big Vinny had come from the alien nomads. So they had a close, tight relationship. In fact, Vinny had taken a bullet for Sandy in a bar room fight one evening. So that's the type of relationship they had.
Time couldn't tame him. Through the early 70s, Vinny's influence spread beyond the borders of New York, making him one of the most recognized figures in the motorcycle world. His motto became a club classic: when in doubt, knock 'em out. Simple words that perfectly captured his direct approach to life's complications.
Vinny was known as the Beast from the East. His motto, when in doubt, knock 'em out.
Though some say he once tried to copyright the phrase, only to discover that his fists weren't recognized as legal documentation. During club meetings, Vinny's size came in handy. While others needed chairs, he could just stand there like a human wall, occasionally serving as an impromptu coat rack for his brothers. But don't let the humor fool you. When business needed handling, Vinny handled it.
You know, people don't realize about us is that when we fight somebody, when we get along with somebody, we hurt them. You know, we just ain't street fighters. We're above that.
His reputation for loyalty became as legendary as his size, and in a world where trust meant everything, that made him invaluable. Hey brothers, tired of YouTube's BS and censorship? It's time to break free. That's why I've shifted gears to Patreon, where I can bring you the raw, uncensored content you crave. Join my Patreon crew and get an insane package deal. Exclusive early access to all videos, days before YouTube, 100% ad-free viewing experience. Uncensored, no-holds-barred community discussions, double the content. 2 killer videos every single week. VIP access, direct interaction with yours truly, inside scoop, exclusive biker world updates you won't find anywhere else. Ready to join the elite? Hit that Patreon link now. Your support doesn't just keep us rolling, it fuels a revolution of uncensored, unrestricted content. Join now and unlock a world of exclusive benefits. Loyalty ran deep in Vinny's veins. His commitment to the club transcended ordinary membership, demonstrated most notably when he took that bullet for Sandy Alexander, without hesitation. Their brotherhood went beyond the typical club relationship, forged in blood and cemented through years of standing together.
All Hell's Angels are men. You know what? There just ain't many of that running around.
We have the true form of what America's about.
We're it as far as we're concerned. We are the elite of the elite.
There's a lot of people that, you know what, that need us. I mean, people we look out for.
The Polish Women's Hall incident became another chapter in his legend. While the full story remains shrouded in mystery, those who were there speak of it with a mix of awe and respect. Vinny walked into that hall one man and emerged another. His reputation crystallized in the minds of friends and foes alike.
Big Vinny Girolamo, I think is how he pronounced it. He was a vet of the Polish Women's Hall. He was there when it came down.
Combat came naturally to him. Whether defending club territory or settling personal scores, Vinny approached each confrontation with the same unbridled intensity that characterized everything he did. His size made him intimidating, but it was his quick thinking and quicker fists that made him legendary.
This is Vinny, who I think has the distinction in the New York charter, at least, of being the biggest. Are you the biggest, Vinny?
Well, I weigh about 320, you know, but...
One time, during a particularly heated argument, someone actually tried to use math to solve the dispute. Vinny's response: "The only counting I do is counting teeth on the floor." Yet even legends meet their match. During a particularly heated club gathering, Vinny faced off against Irish O'Farrell, a smaller but equally fierce opponent.
Vinny wasn't a politician, and he usually didn't show up at the officers' meeting, but this one particular meeting, he showed up. I can't remember if it was a president's meeting or if he just showed up to represent the West Coast. My suspicion tells me it was a president's meeting.
The ensuing battle would become one of the most talked about fights in club history, with Irish proving that size isn't everything in a street fight.
And during the course of the evening, there was friction going back and forth between them. And at some point in time, somebody took something that somebody said as an insult. And, real insults are easier to fix than imaginary insults. And a lot of times, you get in these dialogues at these parties and insult somebody, and it's really not an insult at all. It's just a misunderstanding. Maybe somebody doesn't hear something properly, and it turns into an imaginary insult. And those are the worst ones to try to fix, because there never really was a problem.
When asked later about the size difference, Irish reportedly said, "The bigger they are, the harder they fall." And man, did the ground shake that day.
So they exchanged words. They went out in the backyard, and Irish just put a beating on Vinny. And it was too much for Vinny's ego, I think.
Pride took a heavy toll that night. The beast from the East, accustomed to victory, found himself on the receiving end of a beating that would change the course of his story. His claims of being rat-packed would spark a chain of events that rippled through the entire organization.
Here you have the guy, the beast from the East, when in doubt, knock him out was his motto. Now he's got to go back home, and he was beat up by Irish O'Farrell, a much smaller, more compact type individual.
In the clubhouse, Vinny's presence was always felt, literally and figuratively. His favorite chair, reinforced with extra steel support, became something of a club landmark. They say 3 regular chairs gave their lives before they finally built one strong enough to handle the beast from the East. But beneath the jokes and the legendary tales, there was always respect. Because when trouble came calling, Vinny answered, usually by breaking down the door and asking questions later. His approach to problem solving was direct, to say the least. Club meetings with Vinny present tended to be shorter, more focused affairs. Something about a 320-pound man cracking his knuckles really helped move the agenda along. But it was never just about intimidation. Vinny had a way of cutting through the BS and getting to the heart of matters, even if he occasionally had to go through a few walls to get there. Reputation meant everything in their world. After the fight with the Irish, Vinny returned to New York, carrying more than just physical bruises. His pride, the very foundation of his fearsome reputation, had taken a hit that would prove harder to heal than any bodily wound.
And I think it was just hard for him to swallow, so he went home, and what he said was he got rat-packed. And that's started a chain of events that continue to this day, because I get letters and emails at least once a week about the fight with Irish and Vinny. And it was a fair and square fight. Irish just outfought him. Irish was a street fighter. He was a better fighter. Maybe Vinny was really I don't know. But Irish beat him fair and square.
The aftermath spread like wildfire through the club. Sandy Alexander, still loyal to his old friend, flew out to Oakland seeking answers and retribution.
I got a phone call from Sandy after Vinny arrived home, and he said, "What the hell's going on out there? They rat-pack Vinny? What the George?" And, I just said, "Nobody got rat-packed, Sandy." And I said, "I know what you're talking about." He didn't get rat-packed. And I was a little disappointed, because Sandy and I were very close. I was working with him on the movie, all the advertising and auditing the books and whatnot as the movie was going around the country, Hell's Angels Forever. And he just says, "Well, I think he got rat-packed." And I've got to tell you, in this particular instance, it didn't happen, but Oakland had a habit of what they would do. If somebody was going to pick a fight, they'd get 4 or 5 Oakland members to come out there and stand around. And as these 2 Hells Angels would fight, one of the Hells Angels from Oakland would back out, another one would step in, and ultimately you wind up fighting 3 or 4 different guys.
Some say Sandy packed so light for the trip, his anger made up most of his baggage weight. The situation escalated into another confrontation, this time between Sandy and Irish, marking a critical moment in club politics and personal loyalties.
So Sandy wasn't satisfied. So what's Sandy do? Sandy gets on a plane. He comes out and tried to stop Sandy from coming because I had Animal talk to him as well. Animal was coming from the same position I was coming from. There's no way Vinny got jumped. But, my words fell silent, and Animal's words fell silent on Sandy. And Sandy wound up coming to Oakland, came down to the clubhouse, and it turned into a big deal. And they went out in the backyard, and they fought it out. And it was an interesting fight. They squared off. Now, what you have to realize, Sandy was a pro boxer. Irish was a street fighter. But they squared off, and what happened was Irish got knocked down first, I think. He jumped back up, and then Sandy got knocked down, and then he jumped back up, and then Sandy called the fight off. He said, "Look, there's no doubt about it. I know you probably kicked his ass."
Changes began to surface in Vinny's behavior. The once boisterous giant became more introspective, his legendary laughter less frequent in the clubhouse. Those who knew him best noticed the shift, but few dared to mention it directly to the man who still commanded respect, despite his recent setback. One brave soul did ask if he was okay. Legend has it, they're still looking for that guy's shoes. Life continued at its relentless pace. Through the late 70s, Vinny maintained his position within the club. But something had fundamentally changed. The beast from the east still roared, but those closest to him could hear a different note in his voice, see a different look in his eyes. His famous motto, "When in doubt, knock 'em out," became more of a whisper than a battle cry. Whispers circulated through the ranks. Some spoke of redemption, others of revenge, but Vinny kept his own counsel, carrying his thoughts like another weapon in his arsenal. His massive frame still filled doorways, but his shadow seemed to stretch longer, darker than before. His relationship with the club remained solid, built on years of loyalty and shared battles. But the fight with the Irish had done something no bullet ever could. It made Vinny question himself. In a world where reputation was currency, he'd taken a significant hit to his account. Yet those who knew him best understood that even a wounded beast is still a beast. And Vinny's story was far from over. Time shows no mercy. By 1979, Vinny's imposing frame began to betray him as health issues slowly chipped away at his legendary strength. Diabetes emerged as an enemy he couldn't intimidate or outfight, bringing with it complications that would prove fatal. Even in illness, Vinny maintained his sense of humor. Once telling a nurse she was the first person to stick him with something and live to tell about it. The hospital became his last battlefield. Internal bleeding, a hidden enemy, struck without warning or mercy. The doctors, usually intimidated by their patient's size, found themselves fighting alongside the beast from the east in his final battle. 31 years seemed too few. For a man who lived life at full throttle, death came unexpectedly quietly. No dramatic shootout, no legendary last stand, just the steady beep of hospital monitors marking time until silence fell.
There's a lot of controversy about it, especially after Vinny died. Vinny had complications from diabetes. He had some internal bleeding. He was in the hospital, and he wound up dying from complications.
The last joke he told, something about St. Peter better having reinforced gates, still brings smiles to those who remember. The news spread quickly through the Brotherhood. From coast to coast, bikers raised their glasses to a fallen legend, sharing stories that grew taller with each telling.
It was a sad end.
His passing marked the end of an era, a time when legends were born on the streets and lived by their own rules. Some swear the ground trembled less that day. as if the earth itself noticed the absence of his heavyweight presence. At his funeral, the roar of engines replaced traditional hymns. Bikers from across the country converged on St. Patrick's Cathedral, their chrome-clad steeds forming an honor guard for one of their own. The sight of leather-clad mourners filling those hallowed pews might have raised some eyebrows, but even the most conservative church officials couldn't deny the raw emotion of the moment. His brothers shared stories, some solemn, some hilarious, of the man they'd lost. Tales of his legendary appetite, both for food and life, his quick wit and quicker fists, and his unwavering loyalty filled the air. Even in death, Vinny managed to bring people together, though this time without the need for his persuasive knuckles. The medical examiner's official report cited complications from diabetes and internal bleeding as the cause of death. But those who knew him best understood that Vinny didn't die from illness. He simply decided it was time to ride to the next chapter. As one brother put it, heaven better have reinforced clouds 'cause the beast from the east just rolled in. Legends live forever in stories. Today, decades after his passing, Big Vinny's name still commands respect in clubhouses across America. New members learn his story, repeat his motto, and aspire to his level of loyalty and commitment. His influence reaches beyond the grave.
We live amongst our own law. We don't care about society, you know what I'm saying? We don't care about nobody but ourselves.
Modern motorcycle culture, with nearly 9 million registered bikes across America, still bears the imprint of men like Vinny who shaped its earliest days. Their rules, their code, their way of life continues to influence new generations of riders. Though nowadays, when someone says they're as big as Vinny, old-timers just smile knowingly. Questions still surround his story. Was he truly the victim of a rat pack, or did pride cloud his judgment?
Was it a fair fight? There was no bats used, there was no weapons used, it wasn't a rat pack. I think Irish just got the best of him, and that happens sometimes. You get in a fight with somebody one time, you win, you fight him again, and perhaps you lose.
Did he really throw his girlfriend from that roof, as some claim? The truth, like many aspects of club life, remains known only to those who were there.
A lot of people make comments to me all the time. They write about Vinny throwing his girlfriend off the roof. Well, that never happened, the way I heard it come down. And Vinny was out on bail. He hadn't gone to court and had never been adjudicated. He never was proven that he literally threw his girlfriend off the roof. So for you people out there that are making all these disparaging remarks about him, you ought to stow it. He never went to court. He never got found guilty of it. So I don't know what to tell you.
One thing's certain. If Big Vinny wanted something kept secret, it stayed secret. Nobody was crazy enough to argue with 320 pounds of determination. Time softens some edges, but sharpens others. Each telling of Vinny's story adds another layer to his legend, yet the core remains unchanged. A man who lived by his own rules, faced his own battles, and left an indelible mark on everyone who knew him. The beast from the east may be gone, but his spirit rides on. In every clubhouse, in every story told around midnight fires, in every toast raised to fallen brothers, Vinny's presence lingers. Some say he was the last of his kind, a true original in a world that's becoming increasingly copy and paste.
Perhaps maybe one of the last real outlaw icons, legend type guys. After him, I don't really remember anybody coming along that got as much attention or had a moniker that everybody seemed to know about.
Others argue he was just the beginning, setting a standard for loyalty and brotherhood that future generations would strive to match. Modern bikers might ride newer machines, wear better gear, and follow different rules, but they all know the name. Big Vinny Girolamo, the man who took a bullet for his president, fought like a bear, laughed like thunder, and lived every day like it was his last. Because in the end, that's what legends are made of. Not perfect heroes or flawless victories, but real men who rode their own path until the end. His motto lives on, echoing through time. When in doubt, knock 'em out. Simple words from a complex man. A man who commanded respect, not just because of his size, but because of his heart. A heart as big as his legendary appetite and twice as strong. Rest in peace, Big Vinny. The highway to heaven better have reinforced lanes.